Hello everyone. So, Ahsoka season 1 finally finished and I really want to talk about it. But this time I didn't want to do it alone, so that's why I invited this very special man. Introduce yourself, good sir.
Hey everybody, this is Blurry Films. You can call me Dylan for this. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, like I said, Dylan is very cool, very special, and because I want to say
Oh,
that
thank you.
you really inspired me to do like these videos about Star Wars, that I speak in my own mind without being scared that anyone would judge. Like, for example, like you saw on my channel that video that I made about Rey Skywalker movie that can be good. Well, you inspired me for
Mhm.
being open about that and not being scared that someone would judge me for it. So really,
Well,
thanks for that, man.
so, sorry. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm super flattered.
Yeah, I'm also super glad that you really agreed to do this. But yeah, so like I said, Ahsoka season 1 finished just like a couple of days ago, and oh boy, I
Mhm.
have so many things to talk about. But I think first thing though is that like I'm asking you, how have you been excited for Ahsoka show when it was announced or when it was trailers were coming out? Like, did you have you been excited for this show? That's what I'm asking.
Oh yeah, like the moment they announced that there was going to be a live action Ahsoka series, when they brought Ahsoka into the Mandalorian show, I freaked
Oh,
out.
oh yeah, yeah. That
uh,
episode, The Jedi, is one of the best episodes of Mandalorian for me. That episode was so good. But
yeah,
yeah, I agree. So, hmm,
but yeah, but when they brought her onto the big screen, well, not the big screen, like the silver screen, I guess we
yeah,
call it,
yeah,
but for TV, I was because her character was started in animation. Uh, you know, you it's sort of hard to explain, but I guess, and you
yeah.
kind of see this in
Yeah,
reflected in how people.
because it started
Yeah.
animation and we kind of grew up with her. Like, she was first in the Clone Wars and she was like 12 in that show. Then she grew up to 16. Then she left. Then she came back. And she just reunited with Anakin. This Order 66 happened. Then we saw her in
Mhm.
Rebels and she was like young adult in there. And she almost died again there.
Yeah.
And now post episode 6 in post original trilogy era, she's an adult, and like she has like one of the most richest ways into the character in this universe, I think. So yeah, it was really
For
fun.
sure.
Yeah, really interesting to see how she grew up. Like, I mean, I only have to say that in Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett, when she had a cameo in there, we didn't see her that much, so we couldn't tell how much she changed throughout these years. Well, in Ahsoka show, I have to say they really showed how she has changed in terms of her character and her. Because in the Clone Wars she was like kind of a sarcastic, sassy character. Then in the Rebels she was more like adult and stuff like that. And now she's even more wise, adult, and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see her journey right now. And
Yeah.
yeah, and still isn't over. And also it's kind of fascinating that in the Rise of Skywalker, episode 9, we can hear her voice. So I wonder if
Yeah.
in some point we can see that she passes away. I wonder where that will be. But I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So yeah, at my point, yeah, and, I mean, if I already said how excited I was in that video when I made about first 2 Ahsoka episodes. It was like in August. Like, it was a day before my trip, and I watched both these episodes, recorded the video, voice, edited together, and posted it on YouTube. And that was very memorable experience in terms of making YouTube videos. But yeah, and like I said, my opinions about the first 2 episodes were that were very good. I really enjoyed them. How are your thoughts about the first 2 episodes?
Well, when it came to the first couple episodes, I did think things were a little bit slow at times. I actually remember making a comment about this on Facebook when I was on one of my fan group pages, where the first couple episodes were out. People were asking, like, put your opinion out, and I was just sort of like, maybe I'm just impatient because I'm used to more fast paced stuff. But when
Mm,
it came to the first couple episodes of the show, I was like, oh, this is a little bit of a grind. Like, they do a lot of stopping but you know, at the same time, it's like you have to understand this is all for its build up. You know, like
Yeah,
what makes a story good is a story that takes time for it to flush itself out. And yeah, it does take the boring pauses in the story to give it time to like build.
yep, yep.
Um,
I agree.
and
Hmm?
and it can seem boring, but you know, at the end of the day, it's sort of the boring stuff that gives like that fleshes out the smaller details that makes the story complete. Like you can't just read Lord of the Rings about, you know, the fight scenes and then the throwing the ring into the fire. Yeah, you gotta. It's boring to read about the scenery sometimes, but it gives you a wider appreciation for the world that they're building.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's the kind of build up to this big stuff. I understand. I really can relate to that. And for me, those episodes were actually very boring because I honestly I loved that in the first episode they quickly established everything. They established main villains, main conflict, reintroduced Ahsoka, and the most importantly, they reintroduced the Star Wars Rebels characters. Because I have to confess, I haven't finished Star Wars Rebels yet because I watched like first two seasons. And then like third season and four, I never finished them. But I'm not completely in the dark because I watched some plot synopsis, especially how the show ends. So I know how Ezra defeat Thrawn at the end. So I kind of knew where they went and how they end up on that planet. We'll get back to later. But yeah, and for me this was a very perfect introduction for people who haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, because it's kind of like in Sonic IDW comics where you don't have to know what character is. Like for example, you don't have to know who Sonic is, you don't have to know who Tails is, because these comics from IDW Publishing, they just quickly establish the basic plot, the basic synopsis of this world, and you can slowly introduce the core cast to this comic from the games. And that's basically what the first episode did. And I was really impressed how this first episode did that. That fans who know Star Wars Rebels, they are aware of what's happening. But for those who haven't watched full Rebels like me, they're quickly caught up on who is who and what's going on basically. Yeah, and also I want to say that I forgot to mention that video that Clancy Brown was that mayor of that city on planet Lothal or something like that, and honestly that was very cool.
Yeah.
And that was very cool cameo, because I mean he already had a cameo in The Mandalorian season 1 in that episode where Mando and that group of the psychopaths broke into that Republic's transporter to broke out one prisoner, and he was one of those alien creatures that look like kind of devil with this horn stuff like that. So yeah, this is the second time he has a cameo in Star Wars, and it's awesome.
Yeah, they are utilizing the hell out of that guy.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, so like I said, I really enjoyed the first two episodes, and like I said, I think we should go through these episodes quickly, because I think we shouldn't recap all of them because it would take so long. But I think we should now say our opinions about episodes. So like I said, episode 1 and 2, I really loved them, and now episode 3. Episode 3 is my least favorite in this series, because this episode is one of those episodes I really don't like in those kinds of shows. Like, you know, in some episodes they established like some kind, like the main characters find a map or something, and then the next episode, the entire episode is just like they're traveling them from point A to point B, and during that travel there's most of action and there's most of the tension. And I honestly don't like this kind of episodes, because I call them transition episodes, because yeah, this is a kind of, when in a movie it will be like a short transition or quick one action scene. Here is like entire episode, so it honestly was kind of like disappointing for me. Though I like some aspects of it, like for example that part where Ahsoka stood up in that spacesuit and she stepped outside and she fought those ships, enemy ships out there. And also I kind of noticed that apprentice of Baylan Skoll, I think she's called Shinati, she had a ship that is closely resembles General Grievous's ship. I think it's the same model, so that was cool reference, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that was a good reference. But yeah, how do you feel about the third episode? Because like I said, it's my least favorite of this series. But what are your thoughts about this?
Well, you know, when I was saying earlier about the previous two episodes, I wouldn't say I thought, well, maybe when I was saying that they were boring, I didn't mean it as any kind of real like harsh criticism of it. It's not the worst thing for it to be starting a story, because that's how stories begin. But I kind of think like where the boring element kind of comes in is the whole bit about the star map situation, because it just seems like they take so much time with all this information that they're giving that it feels like it takes too long to get to episode 3, where they're when they get to episode 3 for hunting down Balin's skull and his apprentice and the night sister lady.
Yeah, Morgan Elsbeth. She was called Morgan Elsbeth.
Episode 3.
Yeah,
episode 3 just seemed like they were putting a lot in that episode with the fighting on the spaceship and crash landing on the planet, hunting down everything. So it definitely seemed like it was just a real big filler episode with a lot of crazy stuff happening. So it's a whole lot to process. So I can understand why like episode 3 might it wasn't that enjoyable. But it's just taking it singularly, it can seem like a lot, but once you apply it to the rest of the entire story, I'm just a more forgiving person, where it's like, I understand why.
Me too. I'm also very forgiving on some aspects. But also I like that you mentioned crashing down on the planet, because I want to say some positive about the third episode, because I want to say that planet when they're crashing and there's this Stonehenge-like structure when Morgan Ezra shows Balan and his apprentice this map. And honestly, this planet was very cool, because the entire planet is like this with these trees with these red leaves. It's kind of always autumn in there. Also, it always was kind of like foreshadowing about Night Sisters, but also really looked really cool. And another stuff I wanted to mention, that in this episode, because we sometimes cut to Hera Syndulla in these episodes and what she's been up to, and we actually see Jason, her son, Kanan, and Hera's son. So screw you, RK Outpost, because Jason is actually alive and well, and the kid actor who plays actually looks the part. I mean, we only see Jason like I think 5 seconds in the last episode of Rebels, but here I actually like this moment when he talking about, where can I be a Jedi, and then Hera smiles to him, but we know that in front of her eyes there are flashes of Kanan sacrifice himself. So that's I can't wait to see edits with that scene and with that kind of flashbacks. But honestly, it was a very nice moment. And I will go back to Hera later, but I want to say that I love her her scenes, that it shows that the new Republic has become gonna be how could say, they basically ignore every signs that maybe Empire can rise up again, and basically now it's gonna bite them in the ass with Thrawn's return. But I like that they show that the Republic basically they kind of fool of themselves, because we won against the Empire, and now those remnants of the Empire, they can't do shit. Well, guess what? They're gonna do a lot, especially that we saw in Mandalorian that they have a lot Spectre from the Spectre organization from Bond. They basically have Spectre organization. It was revealed in season 3. It's not just couple of warlords like Scarlet Gax. This is the entire secret society of these Imperial remnants. So it could follow very quickly for the Republic now.
And you talking about the New Republic remind me of a really good line I thought Hera had, where she was speaking with one of the senators at one of those board meetings. I can't remember. It's Zhao.
That was one. This guy.
He's that really pompous guy,
that
and
guy.
she was asking him did you fight against the Empire? And he was like, no. And he's like, oh, so you just sat on the sideline and waited to see who won? And it's just when you hear lines like that, I was like, oh, that is great.
Because Hera has experience, and she she fought a lot during the fight against the Empire, and she's very much experienced. And this guy just like he just came in when the Empire fell, and he thinks he knows everything. So I like it because in real life there are kinds of people in these kinds of governments that say, oh, this is not gonna happen again, and then comedy happens again. So I love, like I said, I always love in Star Wars that they reference a lot of stuff. Like you always mentioned that the original trilogy was basically Vietnam War, and I always interpreted the Empire as a Nazi Germany and the rebellion as Allied forces. So there are a lot of references to that. So I like that they continue that with real life references. Also a lot of tying with the sequels that the first order go rise up again, but we get to that later. So yeah, I love these scenes very much also, but yeah, so like I said, third episode was kind of meh, but then, oh boy, fourth episode, that episode was improvement over the third episode, because firstly, there was this cool fight between Ahsoka and Marok, that assassin, the Inquisitor assassin, and Sabine between that apprentice, she's called Shin Hati, so between Sabine and Shin, and honestly, that was very cool, but then, oh boy, then this confrontation between Baylan Skoll and Ahsoka, that was so good. That was so intense, very well choreographed. Like Baylan's style of fighting is like medieval knight style, and that was so cool to see. And and that episode went so dark at the end because Ahsoka basically died. She was thrown by Baylan from the cliff, and Sabine had the chance to destroy this map, and we could prevent everything. But I always like that conflict that hero has to do something that it could prevent every that the villains doing evil plan. For example, in Infinity War, I remember that the Quill or Star-Lord had a chance to kill Gamora or Thanos, but he couldn't do it, so Thanos could continue his plan. So it's basically the same thing here, that Sabine had the chance to destroy the map and prevent Baylan and his allies to find Thrawn, but unfortunately she couldn't do it. So that's why everything went downhill basically. And so yeah, that episode was very dark, especially that moment at the end where the Republic forces almost they reached them, but no, the bad guys got away. And then Jason said, "Mom, I think I have a bad thing about this." And like I said, yeah, me too, because you can feel that atmosphere that Thrawn is coming, and you can feel that in the air, that tension in the air, that something bad is gonna happen very soon.
Baylan Skoll was really the highlight of that entire episode, because everything about that guy from like the moment he first came on screen, he was just this intimidating, powerful presence. In a lot of ways, like for me, he kind of felt like what I would envision Darth Vader would have been had his body not been destroyed. Like, this is a guy who is extremely powerful. Even if he fights, like as you said, he fights like a medieval. I kind of always view his fighting style as this dark knight who, rather than any kind of like still has skill, it's so incredibly powerful. He just muscles his way through. And with Baylan, he's very much the same way in his fighting style, because his strokes are a lot bigger and more powerful. It's overwhelming. Someone like Ahsoka. I mean, she's used to fighting someone bigger, stronger opponents, but this guy is just like a force of nature in his own way. And it's,
it honestly kind of reminds me of it kind of reminds me of the Nightfall or Dark Knight Rises style fight in Batman, because in Batman there is a point where Batman meets Bane for the first time, and Bane completely mops the floor with him, and he breaks his back. So basically, it's similar thing here. And holy crap, did Ahsoka use a dark side here? Because it feels like she got so angry because she thought that Sabine died, so she tapped into the dark side. So it's kind of like with Seer in Jedi Fallen Order, that she also tapped into the dark side, where she saw Trilla was turned to an Inquisitor by the Empire. So it's kind of similar thing here.
Mm-hmm.
But then the biggest thing in this episode that I was waiting to see, that Ahsoka wakes up in this like dimensional plane in World Between Worlds, and who's there? Anakin Skywalker. Oh my god, that was so good. Like I know he's gonna show up here in the show, but wow, that was so beautiful. And for the first time ever, Ahsoka and Anakin are on the screen together in live action. I thought I never gonna see this again ever, but here we are, and that was so great of an ending, and even carries into the later episode. But yeah, that moment when Anakin showed up, I was like, I had that kind of joygasm, because that was what I was waiting for. And yeah, and that was so cool.
For real. And definitely, like, I really think episode 5 is possible. Yeah, I think it's the highlight of all of the show, because
Definitely.
It's a flashback theme.
Oh my god!
You see.
Yes, sorry, I'm stopping right there, but these flashbacks, that was my dream come true, because, like, Ahsoka falls down, there's like this purple mists pink mists, and then clones starting to run out of this mist, and there's the freaking flashback to the Clone Wars. First, there's the flashback to, and I didn't know which fight from the Clone Wars was recreated here. I thought it was like this first mission that they have in the Clone Wars movie, that with that monastery on the mountain, but no, it was during the Ryloth siege. That basically it was then when at the end of first season of the Clone Wars, when we follow first Obi-Wan and his clone troopers, and then Mace Windu with his clone troopers, and then I remember at the end there's a moment at the end of the final episode. I think it was episode 25, when Mace Windu captured that Wat Tambor, that one separatist that controlled this planet, and then basically Wat Tambor fired up a nuke, basically, and he wanted to kill himself with Mace Windu, but luckily Anakin and Ahsoka with their starfighters, they destroyed that missile, and basically this flashback show where they were doing this entire siege of Ryloth, and that was so cool. I didn't notice that at first, but firstly, that was so cool. And second flashback, there was the flashback to Siege of Mandalore. And honestly, like, I want to say that Siege of Mandalore is one of my favorite things from Star Wars ever. That final story arc from the Clone Wars is just so good. And here I really like how the translation. And also Captain Rex is here. In first flashback, we see him in Phase 1 armor, and then in second flashback, we can see him in Phase 2 armor. And even Tamora Morrison has a voice stand here. So yeah, that's level of commitment and respect for the past. I can't stress enough how good and respectful this is.
For sure. And seeing Hayden Christensen in the role of Anakin again, I mean, that was such a delight. And I mean, here's the thing, like, I don't want to put the prequel trilogy on blast. They've been through enough, and I've tried to, let go of my criticisms of them, because it's like, it's more important to me that my child self had a good time watching those movies than me now as a bitter, angry old person. But in my bitter, angry old person age, Hayden Christensen's lines in the prequels, like, this dialogue was really rough and kind of cringy at times. But in this, he was given a lot more believable dialogue, and a lot, the dialogue was a lot more crisp and thought out. Oh yeah, and it really translated better on screen, because when I'm watching him acting, I felt like I was seeing Anakin as I saw him as a child, where I wasn't any of the issues. I put this amazing character on screen, and Hayden was just rocking it. And this isn't to say that Hayden did a completely bad job in the prequel trilogy. Like, his visual acting skills were phenomenal. Yeah. Visual, facial expressions were incredible, and he translates all of that perfectly back. He's just put on a glove that was just made for him.
Especially that he said that when he was asked what he's thinking about the Clone Wars, and he said that he loved the things that they've only done, and he kind of took it as an inspiration. And you can tell that here he watched a lot of the Clone Wars, and he took from that Anakin from the Clone Wars to 2008 what works best and translate it into live action. And honestly, that was very cool. And also, another thing about this sequence that I always was thinking how the Ahsoka Jedi trial would look like, because Jedi has this thing that when they're finished with their training, their one last challenge is they enter this cave or some kind of place that is strong to the dark side, and they basically face their own fears. Like, in original trilogy, Luke faced his fear in Darth Vader, and then it was revealed that under the Vader's helmet, it's his own face, so it was kind of symbolic that he could become the next Darth Vader. Then Anakin in Clone Wars 2003, because in 2008 we didn't see him graduated, we could say, from the Padawan to Master rank, basically. But in the 2003 getting Tartakovsky's version, we saw that basically his fear was that his desire to have everything will take over his life and basically destroy him, which we know it unfortunately came true. And we didn't get Ahsoka because she quit the Jedi Order after they basically screwed her over because she was framed for bombing the Jedi Temple, and rather they stand by her, they basically just fuck her, stuff like that. So yeah, she left Jedi Order. Oh no, I mean, we know she came back slowly to see Anakin one last time before Order 66, and that's why the Siege of the Mandalore is so heartbreaking, and that scene in season 2 of Rebels, because Ahsoka never had a chance to say goodbye to Anakin, really. And here basically he has kind of like conclusion with him. He kind of says goodbye to him, and basically this is her own Jedi trial. This is her own trial. She faces with her own self-doubt, with her past, and with Anakin. That also, I love these moments when there's this flashes, and there's quick flash, and we see Darth Vader in place of Anakin. And honestly, that was honestly very powerful imagery.
When he's strutting up to her, and then
yeah, definitely. And honestly, that moment when he says that she made the right choice, and then she wakes up in the real world. Honestly, I love that series because I don't know if you read the original synopsis for Episode 9 of Star Wars, but originally Episode 9 was called Duel of the Fates. And there was the scene where Rey supposed to die, and then she would meet up with other Jedi ghosts, like with Harry Potter met with Dumbledore in that heavily train station.
Yeah.
So basically, it was the same thing in that script. Obviously, it was cut out, changed in the normal cut of the movie. And here is basically a similar thing. Like I kind of suspected that was gonna be the same thing here. Like Ahsoka is kind of dead between life and death. Like it's kind of like her final thoughts before her brain completely shuts down, but she came back to life, and then the rebels find her, and that moment, it was so powerful when that one rebel grabbed her out of water, and she's like cold, she's buried alive, and she's like, Anakin, she's like really confused, and she kind of hallucinates. And honestly, that was a very powerful moment because, like I said, like I was saying with Ahsoka, like, Anakin, no, don't go, please. That was so powerful moment, and I love that. I really love that.
Yeah. Well, I think what I appreciated the most is after that whole trial was done, she was always wearing that gray cloak. And then after she's done with that trial, she comes out, she's wearing a white cloak.
Oh, yeah,
and the literal first thought that came to mind was, Ahsoka comes out and she's like, people are like, oh, it's Ahsoka. And she'd be like, yeah, Ahsoka the Grey, they called me.
yeah, basically she cosplays Gandalf.
Like she's like the whole Gandalf.
And speaking of that, there's a kind of a retcon here because we saw her at the end of season 4 of Rebels, and she had that white cloak, and basically this scene was recreated in live action here in second episodes, and I appreciate that this mural of Rebels team, it was done in the same art style as Star Wars Rebels. Honestly, very, very cool attention to detail, but it was kind of retcon that she didn't have a white cloak then, now she has it. But I guess it was, people have a problem with Dave Filoni that he retcons a lot of stuff, but I kind of defend it because I feel like with Rebels, it was like, I remember that I found out that one recording on Star Wars Celebration, I think it was like in 2018 when Dave said that season 4 of Rebels will be the last season of Star Wars Rebels because he wants to end this show on his own terms, because in the Clone Wars was unfortunately that he had a lot of plans for season 7 and 8, because originally Clone Wars had supposed to have 8 seasons, and it's kind of painful that so many of these stories from the Clone Wars were cut. Though like we know, we got some stories adapted. Like we have this season 7 that basically rescued the Bad Batch storyline, that Ahsoka storyline, and of course Siege of Mandalore storyline. And as planned, Siege of Mandalore ended the Clone Wars, but there was a lot of more stories that were supposed to be told. Like there was a book called Star Wars Dark Disciple, and it adapted a storyline between with Asajj Ventress and wait, who was that? That one Jedi, I don't remember.
Quinlan Vos?
Yeah, Quinlan Vos, that one. Honestly, I really wanted to see more Quinlan Vos, because he only was in one episode with Obi-Wan, but he was very cool. I wanted to see him more. So this book was adapted, basically this 8-part storyline, and then there was a comic miniseries, Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, and basically it kind of bridges the gap between, because we know at the end of season 5, Maul was captured by Emperor, but we didn't see in the show how he got back on the Mandalore, and why how he had this group of loyal Mandalorians, where the comic basically explained and adapted that storyline. And it's cool that these stories were adapted and they haven't been lost, but there's so many stories that have been lost. I mean, there is this Crystal Crisis on Utapau story that is only unfinished animation. There's supposed to be like the Bounty Hunters story arc that's supposed to explain how Cat Bane got this new ship, Justifier, and how he got this metal plate in his head that we can see in the Bad Batch and the Book of Boba Fett, and how Boba Fett got that dent in his helmet because of that one Western style like duel that they basically shot themselves, and that's how they got these these marks, and then basically it will make that fight duel in the Book of Boba Fett even more impactful. But obviously we didn't get that. There's only the unfinished animation with that duel, and there's so many episode concepts that I wish it could have been adapted. Like, for example, I don't remember every single name, but I remember there was supposed to be one episode that will be with Captain Rex and R2-D2, and will be like kind of parody of Top Gun. And honestly, I would like to see that, but unfortunately we never gonna see it. Unfortunately, that's very sad. So I get why Dave Filoni wanted to finish Rebels on his own terms, and that's why season 4 is kind of shorter than season 3 and 2, and now he wants to kind of continues it with Ahsoka, and that's how he kind of changed some things. And I don't hate him for it. I guess why people can be frustrated with it, but it's not a big deal for me in terms of that.
Yeah.
So where were we? With Ahsoka, and like I said, and the later part of episodes that they figure out the way how they're gonna travel to where Ezra and Thrawn are, and they use this. What is creatures called? Those creatures that half octopus, half whales, that they can travel on light speed or in hyperspace without hyperdrives. I know. These creatures. How are they called again?
I called them space whales.
Space whales. Yes, these space whales, and basically Ahsoka communicates with them, and it basically mirrors how Ezra used these whales to basically transport him and Thrawn into other galaxies, sacrifice himself, and that's how Rebels win, taking back the Lothal, and at the end of season Star Wars Rebels, if I remember that synopsis correctly that I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just I'm starting to run a little low on time. I wasn't expecting something to come up, but I do have enough time to wrap up though. With the rest of the show. So
okay, the rest of the episode. Okay.
I just wanted to let you know about that. I just don't want to be like,
okay. So, like I said, 7th episode was good, but it was episode 6. Sorry, episode 6 was very good. Episode 6 was very good. Sure, we only found Sabine in there, but then Admiral Thrawn came on the screen, and wow, that was so cool. Like, Lars Mikkelsen is perfect as Thrawn, and honestly, from the show we can see that Thrawn is a very big threat. That he's calculating, he's always planning his next move, and he doesn't underestimate his enemies, and that was cool. That was very cool to see. And And we can find it out. It was very cool that we can see the Night Sisters' mothers there, and we can. And that was a very cool reference to Greek mythology with this three sisters of fate. That basically is the same thing here. So that was cool. That was so cool.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is a few weeks ago I was attending Comic-Con, and one of the stall vendors who makes fans, like these little fans that you install inside your costume helmet, so you get circulation, so you don't like fog up the interior of your goggles or whatever. He actually worked on he actually got called in by Lucasfilms to help and like apply his fans into and work on the helmets for the episodes of Ahsoka, and he actually got behind the scenes pictures and stuff that he shared with me and talked with me a lot about the stuff that he heard and the people he met and stuff. And apparently Dave Filoni, I mean, he's a huge fan of like that Greek mythology, but mostly like Norse mythology, because Balin's Skull and Hati, both of those are the names of, I think they were Norse wolves. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's really cool. And you got references like Ahsoka's gray cloak from gray to white. I suggested to the guy, I was like, do you think that was like a hint at like Lord of the Rings? And he's like, when it comes to
maybe
Filoni,
it was a reference to that. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's intentional. I don't know. But yeah, and another thing about this episode that Sabine finally finds Ezra, and wow, Ezra, like that actor who plays him. Honestly, it's perfect transition from animation to live action. His voice, his appearance, it's perfect. And honestly, like it's always also he has a beard now, and from the video games we can tell that he's more older and wiser, because Kratos and Marcus Phoenix had the beard in later games. So here Ezra has a beard, so it's evidence that he's more grown up now. And so yeah, that's episode 6 was very good, and episode 7 was okay. It was okay. Like I think it was so many cool things there, and I always love that scene where Ahsoka and Ezra reunited. Like the acting in that scene really sold that idea that they basically like they are old friends that they met, that they haven't seen for a long time, and they are finally reunited, and that was honestly so heartwarming. And yeah, honestly, that episode 7, nothing really significant happened, but there was a dual rematch between Baylan and Ahsoka, and something calls to Baylan, because on that planet, something or someone calls to him, and we don't know what it is or who it is. People are speculating that it's supposed to be Mother, that one Morty's god that was omitted because she's kind of freaking insane. So yeah, it's not confirmed yet, but it will be cool to see. Well, and episode 8, oh my god, episode 8, that finale was so good. Yeah, there was so many cool, insane things. Like, for example, like they're finding soldiers, and then these Night Sister mothers, they reanimate the corpse, and they're basically like, we have stormtrooper zombies right here. So it's closer that we got into zombie style apocalypse in Star Wars. And
so that's something I really appreciated about just the Ahsoka series as a collective whole. Like it really felt like they were harkening back to those old school samurai films, especially with like the fighting styles and things, and a lot of aesthetics.
Yeah, definitely.
When Sabine gets attacked by those red armored bandits, I was like, those are samurai. They look like samurai.
Yeah, definitely. They look like
fighting
samurais.
Styles between Ahsoka and what was that?
Yeah, definitely looks like they look like samurais. Definitely they look like samurais. I agree.
Oh yeah. And just I just really appreciate that aesthetic, and I mean that's what we've always heard when Star Wars was first being made. I mean, it was like Star Wars was always that mixture of like the spaghetti westerns and those old samurai flicks, and with the Mandalorian you had like that spaghetti western.
Oh yeah.
And Ahsoka's kind of gone the road of the old samurai flicks, and I think that's just a really cool contrast.
Yeah, I agree. And
Space zombies.
Oh yeah, space zombies. I don't know if you remember that in Clone Wars there was a blue shadow virus short story. Like, it wasn't the greatest, but I would love to see what if story that this blue shadow virus kind of mutated and turned the first Ahsoka and Rex into zombies, and then that plague would spread all over the galaxy. And honestly, that would be cool to see kind of what if style. But yeah, here we have a taste of that. That basically space stormtrooper zombies. Honestly, that was so unexpected, and honestly, that was kind of like in video games where you beat some enemies during the boss fight, and then the boss reanimates them, and you have to fight them again. That honestly was very kind of like video game style thing. But yeah, and then the ending that they failed.
I think Zombies was a Legends. Was a Legends book, like some kind of
I think Death Troopers. I think it was called Death Troopers. I think that was called that was that book. I don't know. I haven't read that. I'm not sure, but I think it was this book. And yeah, speaking of we're finally approaching Heir to the Empire story, and because unfortunately Thrawn escaped and Ahsoka and the rest is trapped in this galaxy. Honestly, that was so dark of ending that. I kind of with hope at the end that they're gonna find a way out, and one thing that Baylan we should see at the end at Baylan Skull, and I have to say Baylan Skull is one of the best movie antagonists this year. Next to Miguel O'Hara from Across the Spider-Verse, he's awesome, he's incredible, and he's a really great character, and brought to life by Ray Stevenson acting. Rest in peace, because that was so heartbreaking to hear that Ray Stevenson passed away just so suddenly. Like you see him in Star Wars Celebration, he was really healthy. He feels like he was full of life. He talks to fans, to everyone, and then poof, he's gone. And honestly, that's the most heartbreaking death that could happen. And honestly, that was kind of like it's a very puts his character to the question, because like I said, at the end of season 1 of Ahsoka, we can see him that he looks at the distance and he sees that kind of light in the distance, and we can see that he stands on the statues of father and son. That Morty's gods, but we didn't see sisters statue
actually,
here. So
if you look over on the left hand side of the father's shoulder, there is the sister's statue. It's just destroyed, and I think that's harkening back to the fact that the sister died in that episode of the Clone Wars. So I
definitely,
think it's like maybe
definitely it is the reference to that, and maybe
those statues of the father and the brother survived because they were still alive when we last saw him. But because the sister died, maybe there was some kind of spiritual link between the two, and because she's gone, the statue crumbles. I don't know.
Maybe, especially that we saw again this owl creature that always appears to Ahsoka, because basically, this sister's kind of like a guardian angel to her. Basically, she shows up to her as an owl this owl creature where there's a very hard moment for Ahsoka. And my prediction how they're gonna get back, I think they're gonna enter the world between worlds, and they're gonna enter our galaxy. I mean their normal galaxy through some portal, because from what I can get, world between worlds acts like a time portal that you can jump into any time period. Also, I think you can jump from other locations to another, because that explains how Ahsoka was rescued by Ezra in season 4 of Rebels, and didn't cause a space-time continue to explode basically. So maybe they're gonna get back in that way, but we'll see how it goes. I'm so excited for season 2, because I think Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie is gonna be adapting Heir to the Empire, but I think it's gonna be one more season of Mando, because it's confirmed one more season of Ahsoka. I think that's what I think. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, they could either go that route, or maybe the space whales come back. I don't know if, as Thrawn had them get shot at, maybe they pieced out forever and they were like, oh, we're not coming here anymore. But, they might show up as one of those conveniences that are in most movies that, where the space wheels show up and then the heroes get to go home that way.
Yeah. And also I wonder how they're going to continue Baylan Skull's storyline, since, actor unfortunately passed away. I hope they're going to recast him and not going to read out him out of the show, with Cara Dune, because we know what happened. But we know with Bela and Skull, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it was like, I think they fully planned him to appear in season 2, but unfortunately the actor passed away. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was just unfortunately unfortunate coincidence. So I hope they're gonna recast him, though it will be hard to fill because Ray Stevenson brought so much amazing stuff to this character and elevate this character to one of the best antagonists from Star Wars and this year, but in terms of a franchise movies and shows. But yeah, we'll see. I hope they're gonna remake him out of the show because he was so good, and his story clearly is not finished. But yeah, like we can now. I think we're gonna end soon, but I want to quickly talk about some miscellaneous things I want to talk about. Want to say about this show.
Sure.
Yeah, firstly, I think, like I said, Bela Skull is awesome character animation. But I think every character in this show is honestly very, very well made. Like Ahsoka, Sabine, Hera, Ezra. Every single of these characters gets some character developments, or it continues their character from their respective animated shows. And honestly, the actors bring a lot to these roles, especially Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. She's really good. And honestly, that young actress is that the kid actor that played young Ahsoka, she was also so good. She was really good as young Ahsoka. Though I wish we could get Ashley Eckstein as teenage Ahsoka in Siege of Mandalore. It's not a big deal for me. I'm still happy what we got in those flashbacks. So yeah. And I think yeah.
Oh, I was just I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I've got to go right now. So
okay, so I could.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. We talk about a lot of this show, so maybe let's summarize it and let's leave this anti-woke and woke stuff behind, because this is the live stream about how we love Ahsoka, and that's how we're gonna focus. So my thoughts. I love Ahsoka. It's one of my favorite Star Wars shows and products ever made. I love how it respected Ahsoka, its legacy and stuff like that. So I love this show, though it has some problems. Like I think they definitely wanted to do Star Wars Rebels season 5, and sometimes it kind of contradicts Ahsoka branding, but it's not a big deal for me. I love this show so much. So, and what are your thoughts about this show?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. I've been smiling through this entire conversation because I love talking with someone that has all this love and enthusiasm for shows and stuff, and it's especially for Star Wars, because it's just like this is what fandoms are supposed to be. It's that great unifier where we have something that we commonly love and we can just sit down and talk about it for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I also was really honored that I was able to talk to you. And maybe we could do some other live streams in the future. Podcasts in the future, because I really enjoy talking to you, man. You're really cool guy.
The honor was all mine, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, so maybe we can do a podcast on the Bad Batch season 3 when that show comes out, because it will come out next year. So maybe we can do that. Maybe that would be cool.
Yeah, and that sounds perfect to me. And I definitely want to do this where we can sit down and talk for as long as you want to go for. I wasn't anticipating being called to leave.
It's okay.
Right at this particular time. I really apologize for that. That sucks because I've been anticipating this entire week, and then
it's okay. It's not a big deal for me. We talked a lot about almost everything I wanted to talk about with you, and I'm so happy how it turned out. And the video will be up in a couple of hours, or maybe the video will be uploaded soon. So stick around to see that. And
awesome.
Yeah, like I said, thank you again for talking to me. Thank you guys for watching this. Yeah, I'm talking to my audience now. Like I said, thank you to BLURRYFILMS. Thank you for your conversation. For we could talk with pure
BLURRYFILMS. Anyone of my people who might subscribe to the Hedgehog Nerd.
Thanks, and subscribe to BLURRYFILMS because he's an awesome guy, and he really inspired me to do a lot of videos I'm doing right now, and I can't wait to talk more with you in the future. So Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
likewise.
that's it. So, like I said, thank you again, and have a nice day, evening, whatever you have on your side. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so, see ya. Bye.
See ya. Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye. Okay, and that's that. Bye, everyone.